Okay, Scorpio, welcome to Catalyst Energies and welcome to your new moon astrology forecast. This is for Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, and Scorpio moon. Report for the new moon in Pisces on March 2nd, 2022, all the way up to the full moon in Virgo, which is March 18th, 2022. So welcome back, everyone. Welcome if you're new to the channel. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful that you are here. And yeah, let's get right into it, Scorpio. So, this new moon, as I've spoken about already in a number of different videos and different contexts, you can check out the full moon report for Leo that we just had. And I gave a lot of detail about what to expect with this new moon. And I'll do the same thing with the next full moon report that will only actually be available to subscribers through Subscribestar. After this particular batch of forecasts, I really am actually going to make it subscriber only. I just felt called one more time with this new moon just because of how it was just so much. The Pisces element is just so much about being open and giving, and kind of like a benefactor, very much like Jupiter is in this position. So I decided, I was like, I'm just going to keep them all freely available for now because, and start fresh with the vernal equinox, right? And so that'll be part of this whole lunar cycle actually is our March equinox, but there'll be reports for that after this. In the meantime, we're going to focus on the next 2 weeks here, and in particular for Scorpio people and the areas of life this is likely going to impact. So the new moon is in Pisces, 12 to 13 degrees Pisces. It's a little off here in terms of the timing, but just to give you an idea, Jupiter is part of the conversation. It's conjunct with Jupiter. The sun is going to be in exact conjunction with Jupiter. These are galactic degrees representing the avatar. This is related to Sirius as a star seed marking this degree of the new moon, and it's actually in trine to Sirius, and that's where Black Moon Lilith is right now in Cancer. So really just incredibly strong guardian, a sacred feminine, very strong natural connection and a sense of protection to the natural world, and a sense of mastery over the unseen, really. That's the thing about Pisces. It's being able to manage the astral realm with some mastery, because it is in fact being able to navigate the realm of consciousness as a whole. So for Scorpio people, now, I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. I have a moon in Scorpio. My midheaven is Scorpio. I have a stellium of Scorpio in the 9th house, and then a midheaven. So when I speak very bluntly here, just know that I am speaking about my own likely experience. Different areas of the chart due to my rising sign, but I still have a lot of Scorpio, and it impacts me in a very personal way on a daily basis. So when I say this, Scorpio people, this new moon is an opportunity to really make a choice about where your heart is aligned. And when I say heart, I mean the part of you where your passion and joy is an expression of the sacredness of your life and is able to move through you. So it's expressed artistically, it's expressed musically, it's expressed through dance, it's expressed through friendship and love and joy, it's expressed through lust and passion and romance, right? Dating is definitely a 5th house thing. It's expressed through us just being like our full selves. And Scorpio people at this new moon are really at a moment where we have the opportunity to intend for development of in alignment with some sort of symbol of courage and valor, and really aligning our person, how we feel, really growing in our expression. And then with Jupiter, like aligning ourselves with the right advocate or the right representation of what this represents to us, right? Now, Neptune has been in the 5th house for Scorpio for a number of years. And so the area of joy and optimism has been very dreamy, very formless, very fluid and watery, certainly artistic, certainly transcendental and beautiful and blissful. But there hasn't been a lot of there hasn't been a lot of like solidification or meaning. Now that Jupiter's here, there is actual symbolic representation, something wisdom oriented, something of the higher mind, but still conceivable by the consciousness. Now that Jupiter's here, and this sun and moon is making it right, turning it right into the very nature of our own personality as individuals. So Scorpio, there is a moment here of aligning oneself in the heart, in one's passion and devotion and joy for life, and the way that it's expressed as an individual through some sort of symbolic representation of that avatar. And the best avatar of the Pisces archetype, as far as I can tell, is the Christ avatar, right? Compassion, unconditional love, complete unification with source, no separation between the material and the spiritual, and the giving and the surrendering of oneself to the will of one's higher self or calling or God. And so Scorpio, this is a moment here to align one's heart with that symbolic representation, because the reality is that I think with the nodes in the 1st and 7th house for Scorpio, especially the South Node in Scorpio, and just moving through here the next year, I think there's going to be some real, it can go a couple ways here, Scorpio, okay? I think a lot of secrets are going to come out about people and who they are, and the things that have been hidden from oneself. Past elements of who one has been is going to be well, I would say it's going to be unavoidable, because the North Node and Uranus, right, which tends to shine some light on things as a result of really drastic change or shifting around or awakening. But even the North Node, right, the soul's desire, right? Where the soul wants to get to in order to learn, the area of life that the soul wants to move towards and is moving towards is in the area of relationship and interpersonal relationship. It's going to bring up the past of Scorpios, right? And who've they been in the past, okay? And so this can either be incredibly powerful and a Scorpio element of investigation and getting to the bottom of things, and really facing one's fear and being aligned with the intensity that is being in relationship with other, right? The intensity that it goes along with it. Or it's going to be like the more obvious thing where people's secrets and the things they've tried to hide about themselves are finally starting to come out, because they can't not come out as the soul is being pulled towards relationship dynamics. And that can be all kinds of relationships for the Scorpio person, from the personal to the business to just the social contract in general. But this is the realm that Scorpio is being pulled into for evolution. And in fact, Uranus is actually a big part of this new moon because it's in sextile to it. And so even though the identity of the Scorpio person in relationship has not been very stable, or has not been very trustworthy, I would say, or certainly, I wouldn't even say trustworthy, but more of like you can't rely on it because there's no stability to it, right? And it's changing all the time. And it's possibly beyond comprehension, or is activated or functioning in a realm that's of a higher consciousness. So it's difficult to be on the same page with people when Uranus is in your 7th house, because how can you possibly even formulate a sense of self in relation when it's all over the place? The relationships itself are not stable. The medium of the relationships is not stable. But this is the area of evolution for the Scorpio person. And so it's in this glitching of the matrix in terms of relationships, things actually being what they, let me try that again. Things are not what they seem. And that has been a big lesson for Scorpio. And I'm going to go into more of that in terms of perception of reality. But in terms of the karmic connection and the fact that Uranus is sextile this new moon for you, Scorpio, it's the glitching and the lack of consistency in the realm of relationship and who you are in relationship. Like, it's not very settled who you are in relationship. And a lot of it is probably has to do with the fact that there's still lots more in the realm of who you've been as a person that still needs to be unearthed. But it's in this glitching and in this instability that there's a moment of grace. Oh my gosh, that there is this ability here to actually align oneself's heart to the most noble, the most valorous, the most giving and benefic symbol that one can identify. And if you need to use the Christ avatar, or if the Syrian starseed works for you, Scorpio, I would say that this is the time to really align your heart, your authentic self to this symbol, and watch it grow over the next couple of months. Now, it has not been easy when it comes to perception, right? We've had Pluto still in your third house. Venus and Mars are coming through and assessing together the damage and all the destruction, and ultimately will be and making kind of making some decisions, maybe, or at least being sensitive to and wanting to act upon all of the now fallow space that is the result of Pluto's destruction, of like, what's going to grow next, what do we want to birth, like, what do we want to bring forward. We have all the ability to do so, and that's what Venus and Mars are doing. They're assessing all the damage and coming through, and then they're going to be in a conjunction in your fourth house in Aquarius on the 5th, and come together in exact conjunction at 0 degrees Aquarius. So, but beforehand, and still Pluto here in the third house, I mean, what you know, what you think you know, perception, communication, and your immediate reality, what's right around you, your immediate environment, I think has undergone so much, and continues to undergo so much demolition and change, and there's power being generated here, but it's at a price, and it's a price of like your very consciousness and the what is immediately around you, and your everyday communications with people, and those, and your mental state as well. Now, Mercury and Saturn are together at this new moon in your fourth house. And so there's a reality check about your emotional stability, Scorpio, that at least Mercury now is meeting Saturn, yes, and it is a reality check, and it's like, we should get pretty deep in here and be sure that our root system is truly able to harness the power necessary to deal with the damage in the mental realm, the damage or the unraveling in some ways of the mental realm, or the perceptions or knowledge or information. It's important to at least assess with what's already established at a root system for the Scorpio person, the family, the home, the bonds, the emotional bonds that give us a sense of emotional security in the world, that are like, we're not alone, and who we're faithful and loyal to. I think there's a big reality check for Scorpio in terms of, does that actually, can I harness the energy and the frequency and the depth of this life, and my private life, my personal life, my marriage, my home and family, my emotional stability? Is it am I tapped into the and really tapped into the power system that will allow for the damage control of what is going on with Pluto? Okay, so that's something that's worth asking yourself as these two come together, because as Mercury moves from the fourth into the fifth house, which is going to happen at the, well, I'll show you, which is going to happen at the third quarter moon, which is going to be the real first challenge. I think the whole time is challenging for Scorpio, to be perfectly honest. Like, it just seems like a never ending unraveling in terms of identity and even one's own mind. I think it's probably gotten that far. And also too, if you're a really adept Scorpio person, and you're like seriously into your transformation and the intensity of your your investigation and your truth seeking, then these types of experiences are something that you're not shying away from, and you're like, yes, I want to go deeper into this because I'm going to learn so much more. And there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, when you have Mercury come into your fifth house, like it is in as the moon is coming into square with the sun, it's like there's no limitation to your mind and the pattern recognition and all of the mental faculties that allow you to go deeply into a subject or a relationship. The mind in the fifth house is so great for literary expression, and in terms of you, Scorpio, really being able to identify, through your words, through your mind, through your expression, the who you are, right? And start to develop some sort of creative outlet, or at least acknowledge mentally what that creative outlet is. Or the creative outlet itself is very literary, and it allows you to start to make sense and find the patterns that will lead you to along the pathway of the new moon intention, which was to align yourself with this symbol of courage and this symbol of what it means to be an instrument of your own higher self. And why this is useful is because at the same time that Mercury is moving into your fifth house, moving into Pisces, it's actually the next day if we look at it. It is important because, let's make sure here, it's important because at the same time the moon is in your 8th house, black moon Lilith is in your 8th house, and this is where the moon comes into its first real challenge with the sun. So the first quarter is in a square to the sun and creates that 90-degree angle. And if we went back a couple hours, you would see that it would be exact, and Lilith would not be exactly with the moon but only a few degrees away. And this is your 8th house, this is the Scorpio house, right? And so there's going to be I feel like there's going to all be a little bit of a withdrawal, or certainly in a turning inward, and almost to the point where there's like a primal self-preservation kicking in with Lilith in terms of the variety of feelings, the multiplicity of options at an emotional level, all of the ideas that we're feeling into it, like we can feel all of the options. And for the Scorpio person, that's going to be in power. Straight up, it's going to be in all the power that's available. And in fact, there's going to be probably a sense of, I need to gather more, I need to generate more, and utilizing your very emotional and intuitive channel of the moon in order to do that. But it's not the full picture. And the sun still in your 5th house is bringing you back to your heart. And the sun loves to be in the 5th house, right? This is the house that it's naturally comfortable and the most powerful in, is the 5th house. And so the sun is going to be like, you know what? You made a commitment. You're devoted to this expression of who you are. And when it's time for everybody to sit down at the table, they will. So in the meantime, you could try to, in a scramble, like emotionally balance yourself by generating some more power somehow, or, and generating more power by leaving behind the commitment or going back on it in some way. And this is not very good for anything where you're trying to establish trust in a relationship. And I could really see that this is like, the real potential of cheating on your partner, honestly. But the sun will pull you back into the devotion that you made to your own integrity and your own honor, right? And so maybe there'll be some problem solving that Mercury can offer here, or an outlet in some ways creatively that will help with this tension. Okay, so this is the first real challenge, Scorpio. And Venus and Mars are now fully in your 4th house. And again, they are really, they really wanted to bring this idealized sense of community and idealized sense of collective cohesion into your private life, your personal life, right? And help with the damage that has happened at maybe, either a more conscious level or mental level, or even just in your everyday communications with people. I feel like Scorpio, there's been a lot of damage, and there's going to be a lot more coming out just in general. And so this really does span quite a bit of personalities. In particular, Scorpio personalities. So when we go towards one thing I want to mention here, actually, if we go back just a little bit, let's just go back actually a couple hours so that you can see these aspects more directly. So there's the square of the sun and the moon, but there's something else I want to bring up actually, which is that the moon is going to be at the very same time that it's in a square to the sun, is going to be in a exact trine to Saturn. And so there is this air trine. Here it is. There's this air trine with the moon that is then in this really, crisis moment in the sun. So it's it's your commitment to the family, right? It's the commitment to your sense of character. It's a commitment to those you're loyal to. And it's a sense of security and faithfulness, and also a sense of responsibility and authority in the realm of your own private life that's actually going to, I think, be kind of like a white dove, a message of hope here that is actually going to stabilize an emotional experience that may have you act in a way that you will end up regretting, potentially. That's one way I see this acting out, but it doesn't have to be that way. It just will give a stabilizing sense to an emotional state that may be very influenced by all the multiplicity in the area of power and how much power there is if only you would just gather it. But there's something, again, there's something here that there's a commitment to and a sense of responsibility to those bonds and to those emotional bonds and to the areas where you're faithful and loyal. This is, and how much that root system is really so essential for everything else to be building, to be built upon, that's going to grow and be healthy. Okay. So that's also part of the third quarter moon. So we look towards the full moon, right? We look to the full moon, and it's going to be on the 18th. And Neptune is part of this conversation, which is also in your fifth house, Scorpio. And this full moon is right on the cusp of your fifth to sixth and 11th to 12th house. So it's really, the full moon itself is going to be in your 11th house of the social collective. And so as you shine as bright as you can in your most devotional self, and you become like a prism, and your voice then comes through you and your open heart, and it's going to be a multiplicity of colors, of wavelengths, of beauty that comes out, bliss that comes out from your authentic expression. What's going to be interesting is the response at a collective level, or at a societal level, or in your associations, or in your community, right? In this full expression, and this full, it's not even expression, it's like it's almost, you are the prism, and your resonance comes through your heart, and it's able to take the unified feeling of experience of source or God or your higher self, and it's through you that people are able to see all the variety or multiplicity of this situation. Now, is your own emotional self, Scorpio, going to be able to hold itself in the midst of the impact of all of these Scorpio people having these intense moments with the collective? Will you, Scorpio, with the moon in Virgo, do you have the means to really through your willpower, seize your own emotional self in the midst of the social order, maybe kind of like reaching a fever pitch with this full moon? I think this is the way that Scorpio, if you heed this, everything that's happened over the last 2 years, if you really take into consideration the power of who you are and who you've been, and be able to extract that power rather than be, I don't know, perhaps finding yourself out of self-preservation or unconscious urges, trying to extract power from another situation. If you remain true to your devotion and to the symbolism that you have identified as that which you want to be aligned with in your own heart, then you will be able to hold your own in the midst of maybe a lot of people around you not being able to do so, like at a social level. And this is, like I said, the sun in the fifth house, at the very last degrees of the fifth house, perhaps. This is a time where, people are full, right? This is the Kundalini at its fullest. And, in the sense of Pisces, it really is like a refraction of a very intense energy. So I think that you can, but it's only going to be as a result of a very honest appraisal of yourself, and a utilization of everything, the power that's been released in terms of your own mind and your own immediate environment and your consciousness, that is allowing you to not only find stability in the roots that have been here, but also building new ones to make them even stronger, if that makes sense. So, Scorpio, I mean, I know that. Oh, yes, and Neptune. Sorry, geez. Neptune is part of this conversation also in your fifth house. Now, like I said, Neptune has made the realm of your own authentic expression, very dreamy and watery, but not very stable at all, right? There hasn't really been any, like I said, reference or symbol or anything to hold on to. Like, it's just been kind of like this fluid, amorphous, blissful, or just completely lost in terms of your own voice. Now, this connection that Neptune is having to the nodes is very important for you, Scorpio, because you're about to see who you really are without having to do much other than become aware of your actual dharma. Like when you align yourself and surrender to the full spiritual experience as part of your joy, part of that is going to be an x-ray vision of your very self and who you've been, okay? And this may be very uncomfortable, but if you take this awareness and your dharma and you're being very honest with yourself about your limitations in terms of what, in terms of your voice and your authentic voice and what you're expressing is who you are, then you can take that and invest that into who you are in your relationships, right? You can actually take that energy, centralize that focus, and heal, and actually find yourself in your relationships again by healing some things. I see a lot of really intense healing for Scorpio people over the course of this month, but in this next 2 weeks in particular, it's going to be first, it's going to be much more about, this culmination point in the late stage of Virgo, of, the entire collective around you, or the larger social context that you're part of. Maybe, whatever's going on out there, are you able to really pull it together and seize control of your own emotional self in the midst of what's going on? And then also Neptune is opening up some significant soul-oriented channels. And this has to do with being honest about oneself and really giving oneself to the spiritual or transcendental experience as your joy, right? As your optimism, as your play, as what you are passionate about. And when that happens, like I said, it's not exactly you don't have to do anything with that awareness. You're still going to see a lot. It's still going to be like a pulling back of the curtain, but you can take that, and instead of brooding, you could apply that. You can invest that into your own soul's evolution in the realm of relationship. And I think that there is an incredible breakthrough possibility for Scorpio over the course of these next couple weeks that I'm really looking forward to with all this Scorpio in my chart. So, and I'm looking forward to it for you as well. So I'm just going to leave it there, Scorpio. That's plenty for all of us to work with. So if you are interested in a reading or energy work to support your process, you can find everything you need in the description box below, including my website, www.catalystenergies.net, link to Telegram, link to Subscribestar, where the rest of these forecasts are going to be from now on after this new moon. Also, links to the Free Astrology Summit that's at the very beginning of March, embodying your star wisdom. And my email is in there as well. So thank you so much, Scorpio. Really take care of yourself, and really just, of all the signs, Scorpio has the capacity to just look themselves in the mirror and not run away screaming. So this might be a good time to remember that and remember who you really are and what your heart's really about, Scorpio, so that you don't get pulled down into the deep of who you've possibly been in the past. There's a lot of potential for redemption here for Scorpio people, and just using what you've learned about yourself in the past, if you've already gone through some of these cycles, or you feel very familiar and comfortable with your Scorpio potential, you can utilize that as a means to really have an impact on the form of relationship in general. I think that, and where power comes from. I think that Scorpio has the potential to really be part of how things move forward, but it's going to require an embracing of this South Node, and this new moon is a big part of it. So anyway, Scorpio, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Everything you need is below or at the end of this video, and I will see you on the next forecast. Bye, Scorpio.